Hey, what's up YouTube? I'm back with another video, and in today's video, I'm going to be installing this oil pressure gauge in Project Prelude. Now, if y'all didn't watch the last video I uploaded, I highly recommend y'all watch it. It's going to be in the top right of this video. But TDLR, I molded a 3-pod gauge pod into my A-pillar, and I also flocked it. And it came out so clean, but now it's time to put some gauges up in it. And the first one I'm going to put is this oil pressure gauge. In order to install this oil pressure gauge, I also have to order this oil filter sandwich adapter. And what this does, it goes in between your oil filter and your engine, and it gives you like, I think it's 4 ports on here, and those ports allows you to run like oil temp or like oil pressure in my case. And the gauge that you order should come with a sensor to install into the sandwich plate. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this installed. I never installed one of these before, so this will be my first time, so we all learn it together. So first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and jack the car up because we need to get underneath it.
Alright, so I'm under the car, and right there is the filter, and right there with the hose coming off of it is the oil cooler. Now, your car might not have an oil cooler. It might just be filtered to block, but some Hondas do have a factory oil cooler like this. And as y'all can see, it's a little wet under here. I think the gasket is leaking, or it might just be the oil filter that might have a bad gasket. I figured since I'm doing all of this, why not just go ahead and change out the oil cooler gasket? I have it already. But the first thing I want to do is, as y'all can see, it is pretty tight. I kind of just want to test fit the sandwich plate back under here with the oil pressure sensor on it, just to see how it fits, see how I want to run this and everything. So I need to go ahead and pop this filter off. I'm not draining the oil. I'm just going to pop the filter off, let that drain out. All right, so I got the sandwich plate on. It is a very tight fit, but it will fit. I don't have the oil filter screwed on all the way just because I couldn't tell if that bolt is reverse thread or not. That's going through the oil sandwich plate. So I figured I'd just take it off and then figure that out on the table instead of trying to do that under the car, because I was honestly getting pissed off. But I even got the sensor on there. I'm gonna mount it on the left side. It's a hole that the last owner drilled through the firewall. I'm gonna use that hole to send the wires through the car. But I got all the information I needed. I just wanted to make sure it fit. Now I'm finna take all this off, and I'm also gonna take out the oil cooler and go ahead and get that gasket replaced. Alright, so I'm gonna have to screen because I got my heater on, but I wanted to show y'all that I got the oil cooler off. It's one 30mm bolt right through the center. It might be hard to see. There's the O-ring. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the new one on, clean it up, like clean off all the excess oil and all the gunk, and then go ahead and bolt it up, and then that'll be it. Then we can throw the sandwich plate on.
Alright, so I got the new O-ring on the oil cooler, got that bolted back up. Make sure to torque it to 54 foot-pounds of torque, which I did. Next, it's time to get the sandwich plate ready. So I'm only using one port. The other 3 ports need to be blocked off with these little screws that came with it. And before you put any sensors or these block off screws in, you have to make sure to put Teflon tape on it so it don't leak. And also make sure to wrap it clockwise. Clockwise may be like that since y'all backwards, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Then once I get that on, I can bolt this on for good and go from there.
Plate on, torque down. With the bolt, with the sandwich plate, you just want to hand tighten that. Don't over tighten it. Make sure to put some oil on the gasket. So next, now it's time to wire some stuff up.
Alright, so it's the next day, and now it's time for wiring. Now, I know a lot of people be a little afraid about wiring, but trust me, it's really not that bad. I actually made this diagram on some cardboard. That way I remember too, but this is basically how I'm about to do it. So in an older video, I installed an auxiliary fuse box. Make sure to check that out. Link is in the top right corner. And that's where I'm going to get power from. So these wires right here are two 22 gauge wires, which I have right here, and they're going to come under the dash. And don't worry about this. This is a mistake I made. This is the A-pillar right here, and I have these breakout cables right here, and I have the legend right here. So the 2s mean 2-pin, 3 means 3-pin connector, S means signal wire. So I'm gonna have 4 2-pin connectors coming off. One is going to power the oil gauge with its sensor, and the other 2 breakout cables is going to be for the 2 other gauges I put in. And then this breakout cable right here is actually going to go to my radar detector, which I'm going to do off camera. So the positive and negative off that 2-pin connector is going to go into the gauge, and then the negative and positive from the gauge is going to go to the sensors. So they're going to share that same power wire. They're going to get that power wire right there, and then the sensor wire is going to go straight to the sensor. Now this 3 right here is a 3-pin, and that's because I also have 3-pin connectors. So the wires that's coming off the gauge is gonna go into that 3-pin, and then since it's 3 wires coming off the sensor, I'm gonna put a 3-pin on that, and just connect them together. That way everything can just be broken apart. Nothing's not fully like hard connected. And it's as simple as that. So here goes the 2-pin connectors right here. You can get these off Amazon. They just come apart. You can separate them like that, put them back together, real cheap. And then I ordered these 3-pin. It's the same thing, but it's just 3 wires coming off. And then here's the harnesses for the oil pressure gauge and sensor. This goes to the sensor. They're really short, so you're gonna have to extend them, but that's no problem. I'm gonna extend them. So I'm gonna go ahead and time lapse all of this. I'm gonna be under the dash and underneath the car, so it's gonna be pretty hard to be trying to film and walk through. That's why I really want to make that diagram for y'all and for me too, as for all of us. That way y'all can visually see how I'm about to wire it in without actually having to see everything. I'm gonna record as much as I can, time lapse it, and at the end of this time lapse, we should have a working gauge.
You are a champion.
Alright, so I'm finally done soldering and I have everything hooked up. Even the sensors plugged in, got a filter on, a little more oil. So now I'm in a testing stage. Here's my little harness I made, pretty proud of it. I ran out of the 2-pin connectors, but that's fine. I'm just going to order some more from Amazon. There's where the power and the signal wire or the sensor wire is going to the sensor. Like I said before, the old under drilled a hole through the firewall for the amp wire. I ended up moving that amp wire to the other side because it's cleaner. So now it's just time to test. Hopefully I get no leaks. Hopefully everything works right off the rip. I got a GoPro down here just to record if there are any leaks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start it up and see if we get a reading. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just turn the car on, make sure the gauge actually comes on. And it did not come on, so something is not hooked. Oh, you know what? I forgot to hook up the wire to the fuse box. Give me 1 minute. Alright, so here's take 2. I actually got it plugged in this time. Came on. Make sure we're in neutral. Let's go ahead and start it, see what happens. Set it down, make sure it's not leaking, and we're gonna adjust that 90. Alright, so after doing some research, I found out the sensor requires 5 volts, not 12 volts. I didn't say nothing about that in the instructions, but just doing a little bit of research, I found that out. So what I want to do to test to see if that's correct is I got one of these little USB chargers. These send out 5 volts. I cut off the end of a USB cord, and now that's delivering power to the sensor. So I just want to use that to test to make sure that theory was correct. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see. Alright, so after letting the car warm up a bit, pressure dropped down quite a bit. I'm also running 10W40, which I completely forgot. From my opinion, I believe that this is accurate. It says around 30 pounds at idle, and it still got a little bit to go down because it's still warming up. From what I learned, you gotta step down the voltage for the sensor to the 5 volts. So what I'm gonna do is order a voltage regulator. That way I ain't gotta use this ghetto shit right here and complete this install. But for right now, I just need to clean out my garage. I've been in here for a couple days, so it's a little junky. And just wait for Amazon to come. So until then, I'll be back. One thing I wanted to mention real quick, I ended up putting a new filter on, and this micro guard right here is a tad bit shorter than the one I took off. Actually, let me get the one I took off. So I had a percolator. That's what I call these, the percolators. This was a tad bit taller. I'd say probably about 1/2 inch to an inch, whereas this one's a little bit shorter. And what that allows you to do is get that filter on way easier with that sandwich plate. Like, there's literally no problem with using this filter and getting it on with that sandwich plate. So I just wanted to let y'all know this in case y'all are working on a Prelude yourself. I would highly recommend just getting one of these. Alright, so the voltage regulator came in. Again, I need to scream because I'm running the heat. It's 20 degrees outside, so bear with me. But now all I'm going to do is install this in line of the sensor. So you have input on this side, which is power goes on that side. So positive, negative. Output, red is positive, yellow is negative, and this goes to the gauge. Just gonna wire that in, and that's literally it. Put the trim pieces back on, and we can see how this finally looks. So let me knock that out real quick. Decided to just rip around the car real quick with the GoPro on my head, just to give y'all like a first-person view of like what it looks like. I finished everything up and came out good. It's working. Installed the voltage regulator. It's working fine. So I'm getting 65 pounds just cruising, which is really good. Mind you, I got 10 W40 oil in the car right now, so that's definitely helping. So at idle, it idles at about like 20 to 22 pounds, which like these numbers are normal. I looked them up. It's actually in the service manual. So in VTEC, it hit like 86. I seen 86. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up for y'all. I hope y'all enjoy watching. If y'all got any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Also, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers, so I need everybody. I mean everybody, and y'all mamas, y'all daddies, y'all sisters, y'all brothers to come subscribe so we can hit that 1,000 mark. But I'll see y'all in the next one. Have a good day.